the Jewish Channel's Week in Review. Back and forth among Israel and the U.S. could have real consequences, rebranding the Sabbath as a universal ritual, and revisiting Jewish advocacy in Haiti. It's the Jewish news that's changing your world in this episode of the Week in Review. Hello, and welcome to the Jewish Channel's Week in Review. I'm Stephen I. Weiss. The disputes between the Obama and Netanyahu administrations have reached a fever pitch, as Vice President Joe Biden was greeted in his visit to Israel last week with news of renewed settlement activity in East Jerusalem. Biden responded by using the word condemn, and all of the political commentariat had its key talking points for the week. Predictably, those on the right are backing the Netanyahu government, and those on the left are backing the Obama administration. How the story will end will depend on next week's conference of the American Israel Political Action Committee, or AIPAC. The conference, taking place in Washington, D.C., will feature speakers including Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who has also made news with her comments in this latest brouhaha. This all comes at a time when Americans are showing changing attitudes toward Israel. A recent Gallup poll found that American sympathies with Israelis are at their highest point since 1991, shortly after the Gulf War. 63% of Americans favor the Israelis, compared with 15% of Americans whose sympathies lay more with the Palestinians. But amidst that is a newly growing rift in partisan attitudes toward Israel. In the past year, Republicans have become noticeably more sympathetic to Israel, with 85% now sympathizing more with Israel, while Democrats have seen a short drop-off. And independents are trending with Republicans, with a 20% increase in their sentiment toward Israel. How will all of this play out at the AIPAC conference? We'll have that in next week's newscast. But if all the buzzing of the 24-hour news cycle has you longing for rest, you're not the only one. Christian Needham reports on one Jewish group trying to bring Sabbath to the masses.
The Sabbath has long been a strict day of rest for many Jews, but one Jewish organization is bringing the concept into the digital age by asking people of all faiths to use Saturday, March 20th as a day of rest from modern technology. Reboot is the group behind the Day of Unplugging, releasing a 10-point Sabbath manifesto as a guide to participants. And TJC heard from one of the day's organizers about the need to take a rest from technology.
We live in a very, very rushed, very hectic time. So one of the questions is sort of, how do you slow that down, right? What are some ways that you can really, reclaim your own space? And one place where you can look back to that is from the whole notion of the Sabbath, which is thousands of years old, and speaks to the notion of reclaiming that time.
Reboot is a non-profit group that bills itself as aiming to reimagine the rituals of Jewish life, and the Sabbath Manifesto transcends traditional Jewish restrictions.
So the Sabbath Manifesto is something that's put together by a group of young Jews from media world, artists, writers, filmmakers, as a way of recapturing, I think, a lot of what the Sabbath is about and translating that into a set of core principles for today's modern world.
And apart from leaving the home, the manifesto's 10 principles, which have their own website, mostly adhere to the more communal aspects of Jewish Sabbath observance, as Clayman recounted.
Avoiding technology, nurturing your health, getting outside, drinking wine, eating bread, very good things, finding silence, connecting with loved ones, giving back, lighting candles, and avoiding commerce.
Publicizing this event, however, meant employing lots of technology, including the creation of a website which features video interviews with Jews about how they unplug, an irony not lost on the video's producer.
There is an irony to this project in that we are using technology to get out a message about turning off technology, but I think it's effective because the people we're trying to reach are people who are constantly locked in to their technology.
To find out how Jewish professionals are taking to the idea of unplugging, check out the broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Christian. The story of Haiti's earthquake has had a large impact across the globe. But while initial attention paid to relief efforts was huge, such support has a tendency to fall off once the moment of greatest crisis has passed. Rebecca Honig-Friedman caught up with those whose Jewish stories about relief in Haiti still have more to reveal.
The 7.0 magnitude earthquake that devastated Haiti in January has captured the attention of the world and generated billions of dollars in aid. But as the work continues after the initial crisis, there's still much to do. TJC spoke with two people carrying unique Jewish perspectives on the relief work in Haiti. E.B. Solomont is a correspondent for the Jerusalem Post who spent a week in Haiti covering Israeli and other relief activities. Ruth Messenger heads the American Jewish World Service, a major outlet for Jewish aid in the developing world. Messenger says that many forget how hard it is for relief workers there to get the job done.
We have a staff person on the ground. He's running AJWS Haiti out of his car. His house was destroyed. He has no place to recharge his computer or his phone. And this is in a country in which the flow of electricity was never absolutely certain in the past. Now it's much further frayed. So he can't even use the standard means of communication.
The American Jewish World Service has so far raised more than $5 million for current relief efforts in Haiti and partnered with local organizations to ensure aid is delivered quickly and efficiently.
They called us the day after the earthquake. Basically, our sisters and brothers are in trouble. We have trucks. We're going to load them up, tell us what supplies are most needed, give us advice as to where we should ferry them. And they have been now taking truck and now boat transports to communities in need.
A quick and efficient response is also being credited to one Jewish institution not usually associated with positive affections in the developing world, the State of Israel and its army.
I asked the Homefront Command Unit officer who was in charge, of setting up the whole thing. I said to him, how did you do it so fast? And of course he gave me this whole answer about, this is the spirit of the IDF, which I of course believe in. And then he also said, it also takes a little bit of Israeli chutzpah to basically show up and say, okay, we're here and this is what we need.
To hear more about what can be done now to further these aid efforts in Haiti, tune into the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
That's all for this week. From all of us here at the Jewish Channel, be well. The Jewish Channel is available on cable: IO Optimum Cable Channel 291, Time Warner Cable Channel 528, RCN Channel 268, Verizon Fios Channel 900, and Cox Cable Channel 1. For more information, visit tjctv.com.